Welcome everyone to the 6th round of the 2011 GP4 Offline Championship for the Monaco Grand Prix at the infamous Circuit de Monte Carlo. I am your host, George Roke, and we are here for the 6th round of the season. 78 laps, 19 corners, a number of famous corners such as the swimming pool chicane, we have the famous tunnel, we have Saint-Deveau, we have Antonio's hairpin, Rascasse, we have the Grand Hotel hairpin, a number of famous corners on this track. But first of all, we'll go through the race racing and the driver of the day. So the driver of the day was given to Armand Cargings, who got his first points of the season. And the race rating was given a 6. It wasn't a particularly exciting race, Spain. Although it never really is, to be honest. But we're here at Monaco, so it should be very interesting to see how many cars finish this race. It will be a race of attrition, that is for sure, as we will soon head to the grid. So we have 19 corners. We have obviously the swimming pool chicane, a lot of famous corners around this track. The Grand Hotel hairpin should be interesting. But here is the grid. So it is James Willows on pole position ahead of Evan Byrne in second. Byrne, who's taken 3 out of the 5 wins so far this season. Roland Moishan, a fantastic third place for Force India. What a performance that the Force Indias are putting in this season. Wade Cooper is in fourth in the second row. On the third row is Josie Willis for Ferrari and Miklos Gal for McLaren. On the 7th row is Rifki Foxin, an impressive performance by the Indonesian, showing his worth in the top tier. And in 8th place is George Roke for Renault. 9th place is Florian Volkre, disappointing performance in qualifying to say the least. And Lucas Levi, who qualified 10th, a pretty impressive performance after Turkey. In 11th place is Felix Sontag, and in 12th place is Viggo Holst on the 6th row of the grid. Decent, not a great qualifier from Holst. He'll want to improve on that come the race. Armand Carr, driver of the day last time out in Spain, he is in 13th with Adam Wolff 14th. Not a bad qualifying from Wolff in the Williams, and a car which is certainly not one of the greatest on the grid this season. 15th place is Jamie McKenzie, followed by Robert Ionescu for Toro Rosso in 16th. 17th place is Alex Southgate of Paul, qualifying by his standards, and 18th place is Michael Mocho. And as we go further down the order, Sam Thompson is in 19th, followed by Xavier Quinlan in 20th, I should say. That would be that'd be quite insane, really, if Quinlan got that far up the field. And on the last row of the grid, it is Roman Quagg and Sean Grant, the Irishman, for Virgin. So that is the grid for the Monaco Grand Prix. 70 laps there will be around this infamous circuit. Let's have a look at the weather. As you see, it will be wet and it will rain for the first 30 minutes of the race. However, it will stop at the halfway mark and there will be a small bit of rain come the end of the race at the 90-minute mark. So this should be very, very interesting indeed. But first of all, the race will start in wet conditions, but it will dry up at around probably the halfway mark, I think. Anyway, we're now on the grid. It is raining at the moment. The track is wet. It's not hugely wet, but it is certainly fairly wet. It was certainly going to be very slippery out there. The lights are coming on. We now have all 5 lights on. So long hold, and the 6th round of the 2011 Championship is underway, and James Willows makes a good start. Is he going to get to the first corner ahead of Evan Byrne? And it looks like he is. Is Moishan going to keep third place from the 2 Ferraris behind him? And I don't think he has. He's lost a position to one of them. I believe it might be Wade Cooper. No, there's already a crash, and what a surprise. We haven't even got 300 yards before the first corner, and already we have a big accident at the back. Adam Wolff has been involved. There's a few cars involved in it. I think Alex Southgate's involved. There's a Toro Rosso, I think that's Robert Ionescu. There's the 2 Lotuses and the 2 Virgins. It's been a nightmare start. And already a crash. So what has happened here? Let's go on more. So it's Adam Wolff who we're on board with. He was running in 14th place. He had a decent qualifying, but unfortunately it's all come to end. So coming into the first corner, let's have a look what happened. And oh, it looks like he got a bump from behind and he got hit into the wall. Was it by McKenzie or was it by Ionescu? Let's have a look and see. Was it McKenzie? And no, McKenzie got bumped by someone. So it wasn't McKenzie. Who was it then? Did Ionescu get involved in this? And oh, Ionescu did. So Ionescu actually hit the back of Wolff. So he actually started this off. And then McKenzie went into the back of the Force India of Viggo Holst in front of him. Was it Southgate who hit Jay? And yes, it was. So the car's just packed up coming into the first corner, coming into Rascasse. And unfortunately, there's been a big accident. And unfortunately for Adam Wolff, his race is already done for. And for Ionescu Southgate, that's going to affect them very badly come the end of the race as they've been stuck behind the straight. Fortunately, I think Southgate's got away with any damage. And I think Robert Ionescu has somehow managed to get away with any damage as well. But no, Southgate actually hasn't. He's lost his front wing. But I believe Ionescu has got away with damage. so far. Sam Thompson there is set to be overtaken by Lucas Levi as they come into the Grand Hotel hairpin. So it looks like Levi was also involved. Did he get hit? Probably from Holst behind. And as you can see, yes, he did. So he got hit by Holst from behind. He got involved in that chain reaction. Quite unfortunately, that is very, very unfortunate there for Lucas Levi. Just unfortunately caught up in something which was nothing of his doing. And that's going to affect him badly come the end of the race. Will he be able to get any points from this race? I don't know yet. But a lot of cars involved in that. As you can see, let's go on board from Thompson once again. Was he involved in this? No, the answer, he wasn't. He was away, and he actually managed just to sneak through past all the cars and hit the wheel, but fortunately suffered no damage. So Sam Thompson did well to get away with any damage there as he goes past the damaged cars. So Levi involved, Holst involved, Southgate involved, Ionescu involved, but Ionescu got with any damage. But so far, James Willows and Evan Byrne have got away up front. Waze Kuba has got ahead of Rodo Moyton, so it was Kuba that got ahead of Moyton, not Willows. As we look at our car, there's Sam Thompson coming through the rains. They come through the tunnel. As we look at Levi and look at Thompson, as James Willows currently got a fairly comfortable lead. Evan Byrne, who's already dropped about half a second behind him, but it looks already more than that. And it's in fact 1.1 seconds coming through the swimming pool chicane as they go past the pits. And they're set to complete the first lap of the Monaco Grand Prix. Already a crash. Let's see how many more there will be come the end of it, as his battle for 8th place, Ricky Park-Rosane, Florian Volker, Felix Sontag and Amar Carr are all involved in this. So they come into Anthony Nose and they come into the final corner. So here is James Willows, who leads the first lap of the race. Now going on to lap 3. Here is Roman Quag, who's right behind his teammate Michael Mocho. And he's moving on the inside, coming into Raskas, and he's going to make the move stick. Mocho forces him out, but Quag has made the move stick. That's a fantastic move from Roman Quag. You don't see many of those moves being made at Raskas. For sure, that was a fantastic move there by the Frenchman. Well done to him. That is something that Mocho will not like as he comes into the second to last corner, and Mocho has crashed, and unfortunately Mocho is out of the race. You could just see that was going to happen. He just couldn't steer the cars. The cars just squeezed past him. Coming into Anthony Nose, that's unfortunate, I should say, for Mocho. As he comes around, he was in front of the two Virgins there, and unfortunately just coming into it, just got understeer. He went straight into the barrier, could not stop the car whatsoever, no grip at all on those wet tyres. Looks like the rain has stopped though, however, but you can see as we go on board, coming out the swimming pool chicane, he seemed to be okay, but then coming into Anthony Nose, the car just is on an ice rink. It just doesn't steer, it doesn't stop, and he clips the edge of the wall there, nearly avoids it, but unfortunately just goes into the other wall as well. Not very good for Michael Mocho, and proving why unfortunately he is known as Mochonado by a number of drivers in the championship, as there's the Mercedes of Alex Southgate just sneaking through there. As you can see, the sky is blue, so it looks like the rain has certainly stopped, but how quickly will the track dry will be very interesting to see. As here we're on board with Ricky Park-Rosane, who's running in 8th place, and Park-Rosane, he loses it coming into the back, and he actually touches the wall as well, but somehow gets away with damage. And does he stay ahead of Volker? I'm not sure, but he touches the wall there with the right rear wheel, and Volker can't quite get past. Park-Rosane defends quite well there, but I imagine it won't be too long until he gets past, and Volker is now on the inside, and he does take 8th place. And we've got another yellow flag out, and there's been a car off, and Levi's off, and Levi is crashing into the wall, I think, trying to rejoin, coming into the penultimate corner. And unfortunately, that is Lucas Levi out of the Grand Prix. It was a promising race, having qualified in 10th, but unfortunately, he's just absolutely thrown that away, and it looks like a mistake of his own making. So, certainly not a good driver as Renjian. Some people were questioning if he would be able to do it here in the OC, and unfortunately, so far, it's not looking good, and he has to wait. He has to, I think, wait for cars to go past, but he does the exact same that Mocho does, but he actually manages to just avoid the barrier, but just can't stop the car from spinning. And as he tries to rejoin, he looks like he unfortunately clips the wall. He lets a couple of cars go past, and he does try and avoid the wall, tries to rejoin, I should say, but unfortunately clips the edge of the barrier. So, unfortunately for Levi, he is out of the race, so we already have 3 retirements, and we've only been 6 laps. So, this could be very interesting come the end of the race to see how many cars will finish the race. So let's have a look at Volker, who, as we saw just before we went to that shot of Levi, managed to get past Park-Rosane, and he does so just before the Grand Hotel hairpin. He makes the move stick, a good move there from Volker, but Park-Rosane probably struggling on those tyres. Here on board with Ricky Park-Rosane, he comes into the hairpin, he's gone wide, has he? No, he's not, he's spun, and there's a collision there, and Felix Sontag has lost his rear wing, and I think Carr's lost his front wing. Parkerstein's gone into the wall, and there's been a big crash, and our car's stuck on the wall, and I think that was Tam Thompson that was involved as well. Our car's out the race, and Felix Sontag is in the pits as well, so it looks like Sontag hit the back of car, or it might have been the other way around, I'm not sure, but Sontag is in the pits. That is unfortunate for him. He will lose a lot of time for that, so let's have a look at what happened there. So it was actually, Carl was in fact behind Sontag, and I think Sontag obviously slowed down to avoid the spinning Parkerstein, and obviously Carl just didn't slow down in time, and then he actually went into the wall. I think he couldn't stop the car, and he got jammed in by, I think that was Sam Thompson behind him. He gets slammed in the back there. Sontag manages to get away without hitting it, and unfortunately he gets in the wall. And actually, I think it was it actually Robert Ionescu who hit Thompson into him? It may have looked like, I'm not sure. But Southgate, who are on board in 18th place, is Parkerstein coming into the chicane. He does a nice little drift there, and he just about controls the car, but he gets hit. He goes about 2 miles an hour on the exit, and he gets hit by Roman Quag. And unfortunately, he has taken himself and Quag out of the race, and Sontag hits the wheel. And he goes through, and he's hit the wall. And Felix Sontag, who hit the wheel, he went into the wall, and he lost his front left wheel as well. So 3 cars taken out in the space of 1 corner there. Makes me think that we'll only get probably about 10 cars finishing this race at this rate. We've had 3 taken out on the spot. That's 5. That's now 6 retirements out of this race. So let's see how that all started. So Parkerstein coming into the chicane after the tunnel, just lost it there. It went wide onto the apex. He managed to control the car, but he was obviously struggling for grip on those tyres, having been overtaken. And for some reason, he went on the curb a bit, and I think that caught out Quag by surprise, and unfortunately took it out. And obviously Sontag, who was coming through, saw that happening, and he managed to avoid the cars, but he hit the wheel, which unfortunately unsettled the car, and he just clipped the edge of the wall there. And that is Sontag out on lap 10 on a track which he is known to particularly dislike. And that is him out the race. And Sontag's miserable start to the season continues. He's not really had a good start to the season. It's probably been one of his worst so far. They'll hope to improve that come next race, which will be at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. But so he'll be on the earliest flight he can out of Monaco to Canada as quickly as possible. And that is Sean Grant out the race, and that is an oil leak. And oh wait, there's a Red Bull there. Is that's James Willows? James Willows has retired from this Grand Prix. What has happened? And Grant, who was running in 12th place, has suffered an oil leak. He suffered a failure. How quickly was this? And James Willows has been caught up in this, obviously. This is quite unbelievable. So here was Grant, who was in front of Viggo Holst as they came to the Grand Hotel hairpin. And I think that's where the problem actually begins. He had 39 laps of fuel, so he probably was going for the one stop. And you can see, I think there is smoke coming out the car, an oil leak, and Viggo Holst will probably go past him coming into the tunnel. And yes, he does. And Sean Grant, who parked his car coming out of the chicane, and he had cars stuck behind him there. He had his, unfortunately, that was Jamie McKenzie getting a face full of smoke, and so was Alex Southgate. But let's see what happened with regards to James Willows. So he pulled off there, off the track, but then for some reason Grant just came back onto the track. Obviously his car must have failed on him, which is quite bizarre, really. And that is very unfortunate there for him. And there was James Willows, who actually hit the back of Sean Grant coming out of the chicane there. It just caught him out by surprise. That is quite unbelievable there. As Evan Byrne, who managed to get a bird's eye view of what happened there. He actually hits the wheel, but he manages to just avoid James Willows and Sean Grant in time. And wow, that was quite an incident. But Evan Byrne has been gifted the lead. He must be the luckiest driver on the grid at the moment. And Sam Thompson, unfortunately, is quite the opposite. He's going to have to retire from this race with a problem, and he pulls off just coming through the tunnel. That is quite unfortunate there for Thompson, and his car is going to be pushed away. And that's Sam Thompson, who could have been on for some points. Possibly a transmission failure is the reason why he is out. And let's see, it was just coming through the tunnel after going over to the hairpin, and the car just shuts down on him right there. It's actually had an oil leak as well, so obviously maybe oil might have gone into transmission or something like that. But he just pulls off and he hits the wall in disgust at his car once again failing on him. So that is him out of this Grand Prix. Unfortunately there for Sam Thompson. He'll hope for better luck in the next race in Canada. Here comes Quinlan, who just avoids the wheel. And so does Viggo Holst, who now has a chance to overtake him coming into the chicane. And Holst is going to take advantage of that. And he gets through, and he somehow goes through the wall. And he somehow goes through that wall as well. I don't know how he's managed to avoid that. But Viggo Holst, who has made a move on Quinlan, he slowed down. And Quinlan, who slowed down a lot. And that caught out Quinlan. And Holst managed to catch out Quinlan, who was going very slowly there, and he went through that wall. Somehow managed to miss that, and he went through that wall as well. Quite some magic there from Viggo Holst, but he managed to avoid it nonetheless, and now he's up to 9th place. Quinlan is down to 10th. So you can see Quinlan obviously slows down to avoid the wheel, and Viggo Holst just catches up to him so quickly, and just by surprise, he gets overtaken. He was not expecting this, Quinlan, and he has to go on the curve to avoid him, and somehow Holst managed to avoid that collision with the wall. Still don't know how he's done it, but now he has got the Renault of Jay McKenzie behind him. As now Joseph Willows comes to the pits, and it looks like for a set of, I think that's intermediate tyres, because they were on the wet tyres at first because the rain was coming, but now the rain has stopped. I imagine the track is now starting to dry up. And let's see where he comes out. There's a 12-second stop. He's going to come out in some clean air. That will be very important, probably come the end of the race, as Roland Moichin comes into the pits. He was running behind Waze Cooper. So let's see if he manages to come out ahead of Joseph Willis. So obviously I think Joseph Willis has tried the undercut to get past Moichin, as he's been stuck behind him for the first half of the race since Waze Cooper got past him at the start at Raskas, the first corner. So let's see if Moichin does get out in front of Joseph Willis. That'll be very interesting to see if the undercut works for Joseph Willows. It's a 10.6 second stop, so it's quicker by nearly 1.5 seconds on Joseph Willows, and that in Formula 1 can make all the difference. So will he come out ahead of Joseph Willows? That's the big question. He's in 7th place. Where's Joseph Willows? There he is. Is he going to make it in front of him in the first corner? It's going to be very, very close. Is Moichin going to stay ahead of Willows? And he does, just about. And Joseph Willows' undercut so nearly worked, but Moichin managed to go a couple laps longer on his tyres, and it has worked out for him. That is not what Joseph Willows needed at all. That'll be very interesting to see how Ferrari act for Waze Cooper. As let's see what Moichin's pace is like on those tyres. As now Evan Byrne, who's got a 26-second lead over Cooper. How has this happened? He and James Willis were so far ahead of Cooper. They've pulled out a huge gap. Evan Byrne is in a league of his own right now. I don't know what is going on. He must be so lucky. I don't know what the team gives him in the morning, what kind of breakfast they give him, or just anything really. Just maybe some some performance enhancing drugs maybe. I don't know. Something is making him tick, that's for sure. As now Evan Byrne comes up the pits, 10.2. Will he come out in first? Of course he will, because he's got a huge gap over Cooper. 26 seconds, and there I think actually is Cooper just coming into Raskas. And well, is that Waze Cooper? That is Waze Cooper. Waze Cooper has got a problem. I think this might have been it probably was actually around about the time that he was meant to pit anyway, so that might not actually be that bad for Waze Cooper. But that'll be interesting to see, is will he get out in front of Roland Moichin? That could play to Roland Moichin's advantage, and Volker has come into the pits behind him for Red Bull. Dramatic race here, and that is going to extend Evan Byrne's lead by a huge margin as Volker now comes out of the pits. Let's see if he gets out in front of Cooper or not, and we'll see. I don't know if he has, and Cooper's had to wait, and he does have to wait for Volker to go past. So Cooper's lost the place to Volker, so that could mean that Moichin's got past, and yes, they have. Both Willows and Roland Moichin have got past, so Moichin is now officially on the podium right now. So for Waze Cooper, that has worked out very, very poorly indeed. But for Roland Moichin, it's worked out an absolute treat. Got out ahead of Joseph Willis when he needed to, and Waze Cooper was suffering problems just before his stop. That is exactly what he needed. As now Viggo Holst, trying to recover from the incident early on, is now coming into the pits on lap 25. So it looks like all the drivers so far are going onto intermediate tyres. How long will it be until they start going to dries? That will be the interesting question. Let's see what tyres Holst goes on, and it is going to be intermediate tyres. Let's see where he comes out on the track. He'll come in obviously behind, he'll come out in 12th. He's in 12th at the moment. He's 11.3 seconds stop, quite slow there. As now Robert Ionescu comes in on lap 28. He's going to go most likely to intermediate tyres, and indeed he does so. Let's see how this stop goes. So he was, I believe, behind George Roque in the Lotus, as he comes out of the pits at 6.3 seconds stop. So quite quick there. So no fuel added there for Ionescu. 28 laps of fuel he's still got. So he'll stop one more time before the end of the race. He comes out in the points positions in 8th place in a comfortable gap. As now Roland Moichin's got a problem. Roland Moichin has got a problem. It looks like, I think it is a transmission problem. And Roland Moichin, who was set to take a podium, this might cost him a chance for a podium. And there goes Waze Cooper, who's going to take that 3rd place back. How unfortunate that is for Roland Moichin. Not what he wanted at all. He would have probably taken a podium had he not had this problem. And unless, well, I suppose he could still get it, depending on if any of the guys fall ahead of him. But we will see. But that is not what Moichin wanted at all. how unfortunate that is. That will probably affect him coming to the end of the race. So he comes in on lap 29. We're getting close. Well, we're certainly more than a quarter of the way through the race. We'll probably get to the halfway mark. We'll get to the halfway mark probably around about the lap 40 mark, or lap 30, or actually lap 39 will be. So we're 10 laps away. Wojcik comes in on the intermediate tyres. As now Jay Mackenzie is coming into the pits for Lotus. It's just not been his season so far for Mackenzie. Unfortunately, his teammate Roke has been getting all the luck. He's scored all of Renault's points so far this season. So let's see what tyres that Jay Mackenzie will come on. And it's the dry tyres. So Jay Mackenzie's going on the dry tyres at the moment. That is a very interesting call. The track at the moment still looks pretty wet to me. I don't see much of a dry line appearing at the moment. So it's a 9.6 second stop for Mackenzie. Let's see how he does on these dry tyres. Let's have a look at the track as he comes out of the pit. You can see it still looks pretty wet to me. Let's see where this goes. And Joseph Willows is out. Joseph Willows is out of this race. And could it get any better for Evan Byrne? I don't think it can. I think the only way it could was if Waze Kuba was to retire from this race. So let's have a look. So Joseph Willows was right behind George Roke coming into the final couple of corners. And Willows and Roke just came across him there. And Roke is actually scheduled to pit this lap. So he went into the pits, and I don't think he was expecting Joseph Willows to come back, to try and overtake him, I should say. And Roke was obviously caught up by surprise there. I don't really know who you could blame there. I suppose Roke maybe could have looked at his mirrors a bit more, but that certainly took Roke by surprise there. What tyres will Roke go on? And the answer is it will be the Inter tyres. So it looks like they're obviously testing Jay to see what it's like on the dries, but will that affect him come the end of the race? We will see. But Roke comes out 9.3 second stop. But Joseph Willows has been taken out. That would be fantastic for Evan Bowman in regards to the championship. He'll extend his lead by a pretty comfortable margin after this. And now Alex Southgate for Mercedes comes into the pits and looks like he's going to dry tyres. We're now on lap 35, so I imagine the track will be getting a lot drier now. Excuse me. And let's see where he will come out on track. So 9.4 second stop. He comes out. Is it just going to come out behind the McLaren there? And yes, he does. And he comes out behind Miklos Gauss in second place at the moment. And Evan Byrne now comes in for his next stop of the race. And Roland Moisian comes in. He's gone the longest so far on those intermediate tyres. And Evan Byrne will go obviously onto the dries. It won't matter obviously if it stops that long because he's got a comfortable lead over the cars in front of him. And Xavier Quinlan, who's actually in the points at this moment in time. This would be fantastic news for him if he gets his first points of his OC career. As now Viggo Holst comes in, and Viggo Holst is going to have to wait, unfortunately, because they've just pitted Moitin. And obviously, they wanted to pit him for dry tyres, but that is going to be a slow stop for Moitin. So that's not unfortunately worked very well for Viggo Holst. Well, it's actually an 8.8 second stop, so actually it's not as bad as I was anticipating. Miklos Gauss comes to the pits. They're all now coming into the pits for dry tyres. The track is obviously now obviously has a dry line on it, obviously, to be able to race dries on it. So let's have a look and see how quickly the cars will go around the track. Volker does a 6.1. He's going to have to wait for a car to go past. Who's he have to wait for? He has to wait for Kuba to go past as he now comes into the pits. So will Volker come out ahead of Miklos Gauss? He might do. We shall see. As we're now on lap 38, so we're almost at the halfway mark. Robert Ionescu is now in the pits. They're all in the pits, so I think actually everyone now is coming in for dry tyres. So now it is the point where the track is has obviously a good enough dry line through it to be able to race on it without slipping off the track. As now George Roke comes into the pits for Renault. He comes in for dry tyres. So I wonder actually how Jay has done in that sense. Obviously, he was the earliest one. He went on lap 30, so he went 8 laps before everyone else came into the pits. So will Jay have to make another stop? I imagine he probably will, because the tyres probably by now will have been worn out, but we shall see. Moisin in 7th. Roke is going to come out in 6th place, it looks like. Comes out ahead of Moisin. There's a car off the first corner, and Xavier Quinlan is out of the race, and his chance of getting his first points in the OC are unfortunately out the window, and the McLaren has hit it. The McLaren has hit the wing, and that's Miklos Gauss. And Miklos Gauss has hit the wing of Xavier Quinlan, and that is surely going to mean that Volker has been handed second place, and Gauss, who unfortunately has not had as much luck as his teammate Evan Byrne, is going to come away with probably maybe not even a podium, but Quinlan He was on the dry tyres. You can see the dry line there coming into the first corner. Just got well out of shape. Just got a lot of understeer. And just went straight into the wall. And as Viggo Holst, who was right behind him, he was obviously under pressure and he tried to defend. He went on the wet stuff, and I don't really know what he was thinking there, Quinlan. But it was never really going to work. And Viggo Holst manages to stop in time to avoid him and goes past and avoids the debris. But unfortunately for Miklos Gau, for the second week running, has not managed to avoid it. And like in Spain, where he could have won the race, had he not hit the debris from Waste Coup when he crashed off, looks like Miklos Gau is not going to get second place to get a McLaren 1-2. That is absolutely gutting. He must be absolutely fuming under that helmet. And Volker can't believe his luck. As now here comes, actually, I think this is Evan Byrne. Or is it Miklos Gau coming in for... no, it's actually Evan Byrne. It's Evan Byrne, I should say. Coming in for his final stop of the race. He's got such a big lead over James Wills behind him. You can see the rain is starting to come down. It was set to be light as now George Roke comes in for his final stop of the race. So looks like the guys are still going for dry tyres. So obviously the rain is only scheduled to be light and is not going to dampen the track enough for intermediate tyres. Let's see where Roke comes out track. A 9.3 second stop. Southgate behind him, who's closed up to him quite a significant bit. Does, I think, a 9.5. So it looks like they're going to get out ahead of the Force India. And there's a car. Is that Miklos Gau? It is Miklos Gau. Miklos Gau, who's crashed out of the race. And unfortunately, Miklos Gau, that means he is not going to be able to get anything out of this race. He would have still got some points on the board, but obviously frustrated at the fact that he hit the debris of Xavier Quinlan. He has crashed out of the Grand Prix just before the Grand Hotel hairpins. Let's go on board with Miklos Gau and see what happened. As he came around the corner, the track's still quite slippery because obviously the rain is still at the moment coming down quite light, and he's lost grip of the car, and he unfortunately went into the wall. How unfortunate that is for Miklos Gau. Evan Byrne, his teammate, also to rub salt into the wounds, sets the fastest lap off the Grand Prix. So Robert Ionescu is actually in fourth place here. That's something that we have not seen so far. So fantastic for Robert Ionescu. Gone under the radar because there's been so much else happening in the field, so many crashes and everything. But Robert Ionescu could take P4, and that would be his best ever result in the OC, and that's exactly the result he would need, considering that he has not had much luck this season. He's not scored any points yet. He only scored, I think it was 3 points last season, and considering that Amar Kar has had a good season so far, as now Roland Moichin comes in for his final stop of the race, as we're now on lap 61. But Robert Ionescu, who's not got higher, I believe, than 7th place, P4 will be amazing. His first top 5 of his OC career. As he's been known, there's been talk that Volker could leave Red Bull at the end of the season, and obviously that is only talk. It's not confirmed yet. As Waze Kuba comes in for his final stop of the race, so it looks like it's going to be a Red Bull 2. It's going to be Volker in second, and it looks like Waze Kuba is going to come home in third unless Ionescu can get past him. We shall see. I don't know how close Ionescu is to Waze Kuba, but Volker is going to get second place. Volker, who's actually scored 4 thirds so far this season, and retired from the last race out in Spain. Let's see if he can keep that podium streak up, or at least keep a streak of podiums, scoring podiums in all races so far. There is Ionescu just coming down the front straight, so Kuba has comfortably got third place in the bag, unless Ionescu has immense pace in that Toro Rosso. But now Florian Volker comes in for his final stop of the race for Red Bull. Let's see how quick this stop will be, and it will be. And will he actually get out ahead? Always cool, but the interesting thing, I don't know the gap there, but it's a 7.2 second stop, so it's a very quick one there from Red Bull. So where is Kuba? Is Volker still going to come out ahead of him? We shall see. 81 kilometers an hour. They come through the pits, and they come through the pit exit. It looks like he is, as we're now onto the final lap of the race. And here is your race leader, Evan Byrne, once again. Got unbelievable luck. He probably cannot believe what he's getting. He got a 34-second lead over Volker, and he's 51 ahead of Waze Kuba in third and fourth. You can see there's only 9 cars. Unbelievably, 9 cars are left in this race. That is quite something. Only the Monaco Grand Prix would be able to do that to this. And Evan Byrne, taken 3 out of 5 wins so far. Got a lucky win, you could say, last time out at Spain when Waze Kuba, who had been dominating the race pretty much from the start, had crashed out. And you could say he got lucky here as well, because James Willis obviously crashed out when getting stuck behind the broken down car of Sean Grant. But it's all about the driver if he can maintain the pace, and he has absolutely done so fantastically well. As Evan Byrne comes through the swimming pool chicane for the final time. People were thinking whether he would be able to mount a title challenge so far this season, having moved from Renault, but having shown his talents last season at Renault, having been in a pretty terrible car, from 2006 to 2008, Evan Byrne is now in the McLaren. He is winning things as he comes around the final corner. Evan Byrne takes the 4th win out of 6 races and wins the infamous Monaco Grand Prix. Congratulations to him. 1 hour and 44 minutes this was, as Roland Moyton is set to come home in a top 5 place. How disappointing that is for Moyton. He could have had so much more had he not had that transmission problem early on in the race, but he will at least get a top 5, which would be a good haul of points for the Force India team. He comes home in P5. Well done to Roland Moyton, as now George Roque is set to come home in 6th place with, it looks like, Alex Southgate right behind him. And there is, I believe, Florian Volker, who's right behind these two as well. But George Roque set to come home and take more haul of points and more haul of points for Renault. He comes home in 6th. Alex Southgate comes home in 7th, and Volker will come home in 2nd place, the result he would have needed. And Viggo Holst is set to take the final point spot for Force India. Having been involved early on in the first corner incident, he comes around the final corner and he'll take 8th place. Not the result he particularly would have wanted, but he just needed to survive to get something out, and he has done. And now Waze Cooper is going to come home in 3rd, the Congolese driver. As now Jamie Kenzie unfortunately comes around the final corner. He will take 9th place, the only driver to sadly miss out on points. Gutting for him, he just doesn't have any luck this season. But Robert Ionescu takes a fantastic P4, takes his best result ever in the OC. Well done to him, he'll be absolutely delighted considering the luck that he's had so far in this OC. As we now head to the race results. Here's the full race results. Evan Byrne wins by Volker from Volker in 2nd, Waze Cooper in 3rd, Robert Ionescu 4th, with Roland Moyton, George Roque, Alex Southgate, Viggo Holst, and Jamie Kenzie all a lap down, with the following with all these drivers out the race: Miklos Gal, Xavier Quinlan, Joseph Willis, Sam Thompson, James Willis, Sean Grant, Felix Soto, Ricky Falkenstein, Raymond Quagg, Amar Carr, Likas Levi, Michael Mocho, Adam Wolf. Whew, I should do that all in one breath. As we now have a look at the fastest lap. So Volker's at the fastest lap ahead of Evan Byrne in 2nd, Cooper 3rd, Ionescu 4th, Holst in 5th, Moyton in 6th, McKenzie 7th, Roque in 8th, Southgate 9th, Gal in 10th, Quinlan in 11th, the two Willows brothers 12th and 13th, Joseph 12th, James 13th, Sam Thompson 14th, Quagg 15th, Santos 16th, Falkenstein, Grant, Levi, Carr, Mocho, and Adam Wolf completing. Adam Wolf, I should say, who didn't set a lap time after being taken out within 200 yards. As Evan Byrne leads the championship by 12 points ahead of Florian Volker, who has taken 4 thirds and a 2nd so far, so consistency is the key for Volker. 2 points he is ahead of Waze Cooper in 3rd, with Joseph Willis 5 points behind, and James Willis, who is 8 points behind his brother Joe. Viggo Holst is in 6th place with 16, Miklos Gal 7th with 15, Roque 8th with 12, Southgate 9th with 11, Moyton 10th with 7, Carr with 6, Ionescu with 5, Renjans with 5, Sontag with 4, Quagg with 3, and Falkenstein with 2 points, with the following drivers yet to score any points so far this season: Jamie Kenzie, Michael Mocho, Sean Grant, Sam Thompson, Adam Wolf, Lucas Levi, and Xavier Quinlan. In the Constructors, McLaren have a 4-point gap over Ferrari, who in turn have a 6-point gap over Red Bull. Force India, who are 26 points behind and who are 7 points ahead of Mercedes in 5th. They're 3 points ahead of Renault in 6th, Toro Rosso 7th with 11, Sauber 8th with 7, Lotus 9th with 3, and Virgin and Williams with 0 points. Well, that has been the Monaco Grand Prix. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. It was certainly a race of attrition, that's for sure. A fair amount of action in it, but that was mainly down to the crashes, you could say. Don't forget to vote for your driver of the day as usual, guys, and give the race a rating out of 10. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will see you for the next round, the Canadian Grand Prix at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Goodbye.